Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Josh Mason, for this evening. And I've been eating a lot of pizza, so my skin's a little greasy. If anyone fell for that joke, you should unsubscribe. No, this is cacao butter. Cacao butter with vetiver after a super intense saltwater salt bath with bentonite clay. Anyhow, this video is going to be about spiritual experiences. Wow, these lights are close, too close for comfort. So this video is going to be about spiritual experiences, and in particular, I think I want to talk about hallucinogens. You know, there's a huge fad now and new age sort of movement revolving around the use of hallucinogens. LSD, ayahuasca, mushrooms, peyote, some other cactuses like San Pedro. And it's beautiful, you know. It's a step in the right direction. It's part of the evolution of consciousness, and all in all, it's good. However, after my 31 ayahuasca experiences and living in the Amazon jungle for a long time, working with ayahuasca, with mushrooms, with San Pedro, I feel like I learned a lot about these plant medicines. And of course, I have a ton more to learn and a ton more to explore one day. But the thing that is most apparent to me is that a spiritual experience doesn't mean anything. Anybody can have a spiritual experience. You can take a 5-year-old, give him mushrooms, and he will potentially have a spiritual experience. You could take a 22-year-old drug addict, give him mushrooms, and he can have a spiritual experience. You can give any range of human being the right dose of mushrooms or any hallucinogen and the right setting, and he's going to have a spiritual experience, or at least an altered experience. And the majority of people would probably call it a spiritual one. So it's not actually special to have a spiritual experience. It doesn't actually translate to life. See, I believe that the most valuable lessons that we take from the spirit world are ones that we integrate and implement and fuse into our being. It becomes like a part of our DNA. See, I've had many insights under the influence of hallucinogens, and then those insights will fade and fade and fade and fade until I'm stuck in the same rut, same pattern, same place, and that experience was basically a dream, right? So I've had ayahuasca experiences back a couple years ago where I was completely connected to the cosmos. I mean, I felt like every bird was singing to me and every tree was breathing for me. And I thought, I'm enlightened. This is, I mean, I'm good. I made it. I made it. And all of this connection, all of these insights would slowly fizzle and fizzle and fizzle until it became a dream, until it became a portal that I couldn't access. And all that was some sort of distant memory that didn't actually integrate or change my life at all. All it did is let me know how alive the universe is. So for that, yes, it was valuable. But there was no other piece of it that I can grab and bring here into earth, onto earth. See, a lot of spiritual teachings try and make spirit this foreign thing and the human this other different dichotomy, this other part. the thing is that we are both. And we have to integrate spirit into the human body in order for this to be a successful mission here at Earth School. Okay? We can't just isolate the two and say, well, this is human and this is spirit. And what a lot of spiritual teachings are doing is just going into the spirit and ignoring the human. Right? And that's why you may hear me curse, you may hear me be very raw and blunt about certain subjects, because we are human and we need a bridge. We need to bridge that spiritual knowledge and bridge it so that it can be fused into the human. So the spiritual experience, without the fusing, without the integration, becomes a dream. If we don't create our own pipeline to that place that those medicines take us to, then we are not really living a sustainable spiritual path. Granted, those plant medicines have their place, and I would love to return to them one day soon. But creating your own pipeline to those places or similar places is infinitely more powerful, because you are doing it with your willpower and your intention, and with detoxification, with cleaning the vessel, with your power. How could it be done? Well, there's different schools out there. There are different meditation schools out there that work on training and activating the third eye and opening up portals, if you will. I mean, I can only speak for the school that I work with, but I know there are others out there. Shamanism schools. The Four Winds is Alberto Villoldo's school. It looks very, very interesting. I think I'm going to go to a retreat soon. But inherently, when we use these plant medicines, we tend, not everyone, but we tend to... My hair sticking up like that? How come you guys didn't tell me? Oh well. We tend to give our power away. You know, by taking a foreign substance in order to grant us access to this portal, we are, in a way, becoming more powerless. Unless, of course, we take this knowledge and we bring it back home with us. What does that mean? It means practice. Practice, 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 practice. The deeper I go into spirituality, the deeper I go into self-help and my work and becoming more whole, I realize that in any given day, there is 100 decisions to be made about which way we're going to take our life, about which way we're going to, what are we going to choose. There's always a split between this fear path and this truth path. You know, any given moment, somebody doesn't text us back, we can go into the story of why they didn't text us back and how we're worthless and how they rejected us, or we can ignore the story and go on with our flow and go on with trust. And there are hundreds of those throughout the day. There are hundreds of times when you can, if you're present enough and you're going through life slowly enough, you can hit the delete button, hit the rewind button. You know, oftentimes I find myself going through this tree, right? Like it's like a tree diagram where it's like, if thought A is true, then B must be true. If thought B must be true, then C and D must be true. And if C and D are true, then either X or Y is the case. And if X or Y is the case, then Z means I'm going to die tomorrow. Oh my God. She didn't text me back. I'm going to die tomorrow. That's how, and it goes to that. And sometimes it goes to that, or maybe, you know, not so dramatic, but it can go to whatever the end of the line is. You know, it's not pretty, whatever it may be. And there's a time during that experience where we're boarding the one-way train to Crazy Town, where we can actually say, wait a minute, I'm not going to get on that fucking train. And these hallucinogens will show you every train that you get on. They don't create a situation in your brain, in your biochemistry, in your life, where that train doesn't come. That train, maybe after enough years, that train stops coming. Maybe, okay? But for most people, and for many years on this journey, on this path to spiritual freedom, you will find that that train will arrive day in and day out. Do you get on Crazy Town train, the one-way ticket? What do I mean by the train arriving? We all know that there's a time in our minds, there's a time, sometimes it's a split second, sometimes it's a minute, where we are making a conscious choice to go down a path of fear or of terror or of lack of trust, of resistance, of doubt, of story. And there is an element of willpower there, an element of human will, free will. The deeper your wounds are, the less free will you'll have in that area. The more charged a wound is, the less free will you'll actually have around that situation, and the more time you'll have to spend in and on that wound in order to decharge that wound enough to where you can actually not get on that train. When a wound is extremely charged, you're getting on that fucking train. You got no choice. Well, maybe if you sat and breathed for 45 minutes straight, concentrating on every single breath, maybe you wouldn't get on the train. But I tell you, in my own experience, even with that level of willpower of, I love you, Josh, I love you, Josh, I love you, Josh, I still get on Crazy Town train sometimes. So these hallucinogens, they do a number of things. Number one is they show you very clearly where you're getting on these trains, how these trains are coming to you, when they're activated, and it gives you a little message. Almost every hallucinogenic experience, you leave with a message, with a little homework, and the homework is always to do your work at home. It might be a super elaborate concept, it might be a very basic, simple concept, but it's always to do your work at home. What's home? When this medicine wears off. When you're back to your reality, you got to do your homework. The homework can be very different for different people, different phases of life, but generally that homework is not to get on Crazy Town train. Generally that homework is to eat healthier, eat cleaner, detox the body, clean this vessel. It's to be more in integrity, to be with your word. You know, these hallucinogens, a lot of the messages I receive from these hallucinogens is the word. This word that we have. It's so important to hold our word. This is the origination of our life, I believe. Everything that comes out of my mouth is manifesting my life. Every single word. Every time we say yes to something. It's okay to cancel things, of course, but to be a man of your word or a woman of your word is crucial, crucial importance. It's like the foundation of your life. To when you say you're going to do something, you do it. To be on time. Another valuable lesson from these medicines. And so these medicines, these hallucinogens are a tool, and they're a beautiful tool when they're used correctly, and they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun and they're magical. But at the end of the day, the objective here is to grab the knowledge and the insights and bring it down to earth school. What the planet needs is people to understand spiritual wisdom and fuse it with the human body, fuse it with the human experience, bridge it with the human experience. That's how we'll transform the planet. I don't believe we'll transform the planet from namaste, welcome. You know, maybe those people have maybe that type of energy has its place, and maybe some of them are really authentic in that way. But I believe that a lot of that, it's just a suppressing, a repressing of the human. You tell me that that person doesn't feel like fucking the student that walks in the door, or eating that cheeseburger, or telling someone to go fuck themselves after they cut them off on the road? Doubtful, doubtful. I mean, there are masters, there are true masters, and for them, please know that I'm not saying anything about a true maestro. But what I speak of in this way is New Age spirituality. It's a movement that's happening right now. It doesn't really have that much integrity. It's lacking a lot, and I can't hate on it because it's better than the powers that be, than corporate greed. But it's just important not to get swept up in a movement. And then what you see is, of course, people who reject all of spirituality because of those people who are namaste and then you energy and chakras and all. Well, all that stuff is real, but when you have people talking about it in a completely isolated situation, in a completely isolated way from the human, then you have all of these people who completely reject it and rebel against it because it lacks, there's no bridge. It's just so far out there that people can't even relate to it. And when someone can't relate to something, they just label it as crazy. Anyway, back to my final message here on hallucinogens. They're a valuable tool. They're an amazing way to crack out of paradigms. They're an amazing way to shatter the ego and shatter conditioning. But the real magic, I believe, is to do the work on a day-to-day basis. Think about how many times you have a choice in your life. You know, for me, the choice comes from me, my biggest kryptonite right now is technology. You know, I don't have any addictions. I don't have to food, to porn, to masturbation. None of that stuff phases me. No junk food. I mean, chocolate I have, but it does, nothing pulls me. But what pulls me these days a lot is technology, emails, Facebooks, Instagram, YouTube. It's like, you know, 5, 6, 10 times a day I'll check. And when I know that actually the move is just to be with myself. Actually, the move is just to breathe. I don't need to go get up and do that. I don't need to go check this. I don't need to go tell myself that I'm worthy and tell myself that I'm valuable because I have this many likes or this many followers or this many subscribers. I can just breathe. And so for me, I'll give you an example. Like my choices that come in a day are choices like that. Choices like not getting on crazy town train if my girlfriend doesn't text me back. Not getting on crazy town train if someone tells me to go fuck myself on YouTube. You know, all of these stories that can come in, right? Hundreds and hundreds of stories come in on a given day as far as where my business is headed, where I'm headed, where's my path taking me, what do these people think of me, what do those people think of me, you know, time and time again. And then I have a choice in that moment. Am I going to go into this? Is this helpful to my journey? or is this just noise? And then the thing I like a lot is, maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. Thank you, let's move forward. You know, I love you anyway. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. I love you anyway, Josh. So, you don't need to go do mushrooms. You don't need to go to the jungle to drink ayahuasca. In fact, if you do want to go do those things, then the best freaking thing that you can do is to detoxify your body and to start making the right choices in a given day. Only you know what those right choices are. Only you understand when I say not to get on Crazy Town train. Only you understand what those portals and pathways are for you. And only you truly know how many of them are, you know, free will, and how many of them are so charged that you simply need help from a healer or a helper or a coach in order to overcome those. And with detoxification, by the way, many of these portals and pathways and these trains to Crazy Town are less powerful. They have less of an allure. You know, the train that comes by is dilapidated and it's falling off the tracks, and there's dudes in there smoking and shooting up heroin. They're like, hey, you want to get on this train, baby? You know, whereas before, maybe that was a steam bullet with fucking filet mignon and potatoes waiting for you, you know? So, detoxification makes those trains show up and be like, oh my God, get the fuck out of here. I'm not getting on that train. So, create your own pipeline to the divine with willpower, with meditation, with binaural beats, with detoxification, with healers, shamanism, books, nature. If you want to do hallucinogens, do the homework first. The medicine's going to give you the same homework after anyway. I promise you. The medicine you're going to, the homework you're going to get from the medicine is the homework that you can do right before you get to it anyway, to maximize your experience. There's no shortcuts here in this life. There's no easy shortcuts. There's none of that stuff is free. I really believe that these hallucinogens are, they can accelerate the path, but there's a price. When you accelerate the path at that pace, sometimes we fry the circuitry. Sometimes we lose our grounding. We go a little cuckoo if we do too many hallucinogens. We lose our human. So, yeah, it's very rare to find a real shortcut. This is a marathon, a lifelong marathon, and we wouldn't want it any other way, because we are divine, powerful beings who came here for a massive game of hide and seek, and we want to learn as much as we can in Earth School. We think we want to get out of suffering like this, but that's not actually true. You won't incarnate your fullest, highest strengths if you just, boom, woke up and were blissed out. All right, I'm nearing the end of this video. It's 24 minutes. Hope you enjoyed the show. This was a deep one. I hope you could handle it. Leave me a comment below. And yeah. That's all she wrote. Peace.